to have these that I can share for future as well. So did I start share recording? Hang on a second. May have to, yeah, it is recording. All right, let me share out my screen here. And what we're going to be talking about today. So what we're going to talk about is really how to improve your businesses. And, you know, this can apply to yourself, and it can also apply to, as you're talking with other people. And Michael, you and I talked about, you know, being referral partners and where some things to help other businesses as well. And especially right now, with the way our world is, businesses need help, and businesses need some direction and some just some guidance in order to maneuver where the world is changing. Every day we wake up, and it's almost like it's a new paradigm every day. But what I want to talk about really are some very fundamental things that can just help us to make sure that our businesses are foundationally moving where we want to go. And so these are real simple 6 steps to make our better business. So my purpose today is, and so I'm going to be, one thing is I'm going to be your coach today for the next hour, and helping you in your own business to think about areas that you need to grow and where you can improve to become more profitable. So one thing I want to do is be your coach, but also I want to make sure that I reward your time and your investment in the simplest, fastest, and easiest ways. So I want us to be able to increase our sales and profits. Jennifer, you mentioned that. How do I get more leads? How do I get more people actually buying? You know, that's what we're about. That's why we're in business, right? We aren't in business just because we like getting up and we like going someplace and just putting in our time. We're there in order to do sales, in order to do, you know, and ultimately for the sales to actually turn into profit, right? So.
Just want to make sure you got that application.
Yep. Mike, or was that you? Okay, gotcha.
Yes, I turned it off.
No worry. So the other thing is, I want us to think about ways for you to free your time. You know, I heard a quote that was something to the effect of, entrepreneurs are the craziest people in the world who will start to work for themselves 80 hours a week so they don't have to work for someone else 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it is. But in reality, as small business owners, we want to be able to have free time. You know, we want to be able to go and golf. We want to be able to spend time with our family. We want to be able to go to the baseball game or the dance recital. You know, I have 2 young kids, 8 and a 10-year-old, and they're into, you know, all things Disney, of course. And there's that one incredible show where, you know, Gru is like trying to steal the moon, and the little girls are you know, they're in the dance recital, and they're like, is he going to show up? He's going to show up. And it's like, how many times in life are people so caught up in doing their work, they miss the important things in life. They miss what's really important. So I want to give you some ways today to think about ways to free up your time, and also creating amazing teams. You know, we don't do this on our own. You know, people don't build big businesses, good businesses, profitable businesses by themselves. They have teams around them. They have amazing teams. So those are some things that I want you to be able to get back today. I want to be able to educate you. So I have, you know, really 4 goals. One is to be your coach, as I mentioned, to educate you so that you learn something today. I want to give you some strategies, some concrete things that you can put into place tomorrow to improve your business. And I want you to think about, you know, ways that you yourself need a coach. Everybody at some level needs a coach, right? Um, we talk about golf. I actually turned on the golf tournament this past weekend, and I saw Justin Thomas on the practice green before he teed off, and he was hitting balls, and standing right in front of him was his coach, and just watching every swing. And then he'd go around behind him, and he'd watch his swings from behind, and he'd watch from different angles and got a different perspective and looking at different ways. Now, Justin Thomas thought that he was swinging the same way every time, right? I'm doing it the same. But that coach is looking at the fine details from every different direction, right? From every different angle. And telling him, giving him feedback and saying, you did this time, you did this time. In order to be consistent, you have to do it this way every time. It's amazing how many times we think it is so easy to hire a coach for our hobbies, for our golf, or our tennis, or for our kids, baseball, and send them off. I got a flyer yesterday for my kids to go to a coding camp to teach them how to code Minecraft and Roblox and all these other things. And right on it, it said, your child's coach, So we have this idea of a coach. But the area in which we spend most of our money and most of our time, our businesses, we don't have coaching for that. We think that we can do it on our own. So part of my goal today is to help you to understand, where it is you need to have a coach, and how you need to have someone who is there helping you to get better and to see your blind sides. So a little bit about Action Coach. Jennifer, you were asking, who I'm with. Action Coach is the #1 business coaching firm in the world. We are in more than 1,000 coaching offices. I think it's actually now about 1,500 coaching offices in over 80 countries worldwide. We are just about every place in the world. We coach somewhere around 15,000 businesses every week around the world. It's a privately owned company that's owned by Brad Sugars, who's an entrepreneur. He's written 20 plus books, and we can talk about some of those books. We'll talk about some of those books today, even. Sometimes the coaching that people start when I talk about, everybody needs a coach. Sometimes the coaching is as simple as, I want to get that book because I want to get better, And so coaching can be as minimal as getting a book and learning. But he's written a lot of books. Our vision as a whole is to have world abundance through business re-education. And as an action coach here in North Georgia, I interpret this to be, I want abundance in North Georgia, so that people here can experience that abundance and that great life that comes with profitability, and how we can do that. And I bring it down to this level. That's what I'm about. I'm very excited to help businesses here. I mentioned we coach over 15,000 businesses a week across all these different countries. Who I am, I'm a certified business coach. I've been coaching people for 30 years, both in starting my career actually in ministry, pastoring, caring for people, coaching them into better lives. I did that for about 10 years, and then I went into corporate world where I was project managing and program managing and running some big programs in corporate life, building some really high functioning teams. Many of my teams won awards for being the most productive and most efficient teams, high performing teams, and building those teams. I live in Milton. I have a wife and 2 children, and a fun fact about me is I once had lunch with one of the most admired men in the world. You want to take a guess who that may be?
Nick Saban.
No, I'm not a Georgia fan, and that's a joke. Actually, so I had lunch with Mr. Rogers.
Nice.
Yeah, um, and actually his wife. Both he and his wife, I was able to have lunch with them, and I just have a tremendous amount of respect for Fred Rogers. He's of course passed almost 20 years ago now that he's been gone, but somebody who he is somebody that I think if we were able to emulate the way that he treated other people and the respect that he had for other people, boy, our world would be so much different right now. You know, he just had a tremendous amount of care and passion and love for people. When I was at lunch with him, there was a little 5-year-old girl, and this is I think a little bit of where we need to be as business owners, as people, however. Little 5-year-old girl, it was right around Halloween time, and she had one of these little plastic spider rings. You know what I'm talking about? The kids get these little spider rings. And, I was talking with Miss Rogers, and she came up and gave him this ring like it was the Hope Diamond. It just, I want you to have this. And she just was so proud of it. And Mr. Rogers acknowledged that importance to her and took it with both of his hands and just, thank you so much for this. This is just so special. I know this is special, and it wasn't like he tried to give it back to her or anything. He accepted it. He appreciated it. He respected who she was. So just a great, great guy. We're here to talk about business though. And we define business as a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So when we talk about commercial, what does that mean to you guys? If I say commercial, this is interactive part.
Commercial.
Means you're selling something, right? Something. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I can't see my business being commercial. I can't remotely. Commerce means I'm selling a tangible product, which I'm not. So you tell me what it means as a financial advisor selling intangibles like your kid's college or your retirement buckets. Commercial to me says I'm selling a TV set. I'm selling a assisted living package or something you could touch and go home with. Maybe I'm missing the point. Profitable and the other one, enterprising, I agree with.
Commercial is basically anything that you're selling them, right? If you are selling a product or a service, it makes it a commercial enterprise,
Okay.
right? It doesn't just have to be, something that's tangible or where somebody is going someplace. Insurance certainly is a commercial entity. Coaching, when I sell my services, they are products that I'm selling, right? I sell a workshop, I sell one-on-one coaching, I sell, all sorts of different things that you can't put your hand on, but they are certainly commercial, right? I worked one of my past jobs. I worked for Koch Industries, Charles and David Koch, who own a lot of things. David, of course, died a year ago or so, but they have this huge entity, Georgia Pacific, downtown Atlanta. They own that. But working with them, one of the things that you learn was the idea of capitalism, and that capitalism is anything of value, right? If you are selling something of value, and so that's what makes it commercial. So whether it's an insurance policy or a 401k or something like that, or an assisted living facility, memory care facility or a television. So anything that you are selling, makes it a commercial enterprise, right? So anybody who's in, you do sales every day, right, Michael?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so that's part of it. The other piece is profitable. If our businesses are not profitable, then we don't have a successful business. Yeah. And the reality is there are many businesses out there that are not profitable. We don't get up and go into our office or now go into the other room, since we work remotely, just to put in 80 hours not to be profitable. But the reality is there are a lot of small businesses that we know of where, how many times have you heard someone say, I'm working 80 hours a week in this small business and I'm not making any more than the people that work for me. They're not profitable. They're barely paying the bills. It's a job. And we all know that a job really means that you're just over broke. If you're struggling to just pay the bills, that's not profitable. The other piece is that it works, that there are systems in place so that it is, operational and it is functioning in a good way. And the last piece of this definition is that it works without you. Ultimately, that's the goal of all businesses. If you are having to work in your business, then it's not really a business, it's still a job. It's not a business until it's working without you. You're able to go on vacation, you're able to not show up. Brad Sugars, he tells this story about he has a number of businesses, and one business that he owns is a restaurant in the Wynn Casino out in Las Vegas, where he lives. And he went into it one day with his family and said reservations for Sugars, and the hostess went and seated them, and his 14-year-old daughter comes up to him and says, Dad, I don't think she knows you own the business. And he replies back to her, he's like, then good. This is a successful business. It works without me. He said, that business, they don't know that I even own it, but it's there and it's making me money, and I never spend a day there. I don't have to do it because everything is working without me. And that's what makes a successful business. So how do we get there? There are 6 steps. That's what we're here to talk about. The first one is mastery. This is where we eliminate the chaos. We got to get the foundation of every business going, right? We need to make sure that everything is there in running our business and it's good and it's functioning. We have to have stability. We then move into niche. This is the marketing piece. And Jennifer, I think this is where it's like, how do I get more marketing? How do I get more leads? How do I get that predictable cash flow? And so we want to get that there, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We'll go into detail on all these here in just a moment. From after niche or the marketing, then we go into leverage, and this is where you get the efficiency. Now you'll see that these are building on one another. If we don't have mastery in place, we can't put marketing in place, because if we don't know what our numbers are, we don't know how we're being productive or our vision and those things in mastery, then we don't really know what we're marketing out there. And if we don't have the predictable cash flow, then we can't put the operations in place. To put the operations in place, it costs money. So you have to make sure that you have them in place, and you have to make sure all that's there. After we have those operations in place, we've got the time, we start to build out the team, and we start to structure it for growth. And this is when we get to that point where the business is working without you, right? It's there. You have the team around you. They know what they're supposed to do. The scripts and everything are happening. And you put together the general manager, and all of it's there. And then you have the synergy where it's a well-oiled machine and you're deciding, you know what? Yeah, let's replicate this. Let's franchise it. Let's send it out. Let's license it. Let's sell it. Let's do whatever, but it's everything is working together. And finally, you have the passive income, and you decide, what you're going to do. You have your own personal growth, your goals, everything in place. It's not just income, but you also have time. We talked about that earlier. How do you have the freedom of your own time? So those are the 6 steps that we're going to talk about, right? So let's dig a little bit into it, right? Mastery. There are 4 things within mastery that we have to do in order to go from chaos to control, all right? And this is where we really talk about it being a commercial and the enterprise. The first one is destination. What does that mean for you guys? If I say destination mastery, what would you come to mind?
I have a end goal in mind. I want to retire at age 62 and have this team that I'm building continue to generate revenue for me.
Okay. Yep. Jennifer?
Well, it's interesting because I have to say I don't have a business background, so these are new concepts to me, but they're, I find them very interesting. I'm going to agree with Michael.
And I know, you don't own the business, Jennifer. I know you're in the sales side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But the other piece is most small business owners, they don't have a business background either, right? So, even if you were the business owner, you would not be alone there. 95% of small business owners don't have a business background.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. They have a background in whatever they do. They may know how to make pizzas. They may know how to sell, clothing or whatever it is, mm-hmm. but they really don't know how to run a business. Mm-hmm. And that's what coaching, we help people to run their business, to make sure that the business is running efficiently. So yes, the destination is that vision, right? But it also has to be not just our big vision, but it's got to be what is the culture and what is the vision for this business, so that everybody knows. Michael, in your business, do all of the people working for you, do they know? Are they tied into what your vision is? Do they know what they're supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis?
Not right? Everyone, no.
Yeah, and so if that's destination of where you're taking your business isn't there across the board, then that's one thing that we've got to get out there and make sure that people understand. Hey, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing. Jennifer, with the memory care, people need to know this is what we're doing. This is why we're all together, right? So the destination mastery, and that's got to come from the owner, from the people who are running the thing. They have to set that vision in place, right? The second is money mastery, right? If we don't have money mastery, and this is really about making sure small businesses know what their cash flow is. Again, most small businesses, they really don't know what their profit and loss is. Coming from the corporate world, for years, people were like, "Oh, this is our P&L because we have to report it to the street every quarter," right? We're in earnings time right now, and it just drives it. But when it comes to a small business, small businesses don't know that. There are a lot of small businesses that show up at their accountant at the end of the year with a box full of receipts and say, "Okay, do my taxes," and they don't know from 1 week to the next where they are. And where we work with businesses, where individual businesses, you guys, if you don't know where your profit is, how much you need to sell, Jennifer, I don't know if have an idea, with your facility, I need to make X number of sales per month in order for us to be profitable. And so by the 10th of the month, if I have made this many sales, then I know we're going to have a profitable month, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because I don't know that number.
Yeah. And so what is the break even number? Where is it that we actually become profitable? And if we don't know what those numbers are, then we just kind of keep chasing something that we don't know what the goal really is, right? So we need to master our money. And that really comes with knowing the profit and loss, knowing what our cash flow is, knowing what our break-even number is, with expenses versus revenue, and when is it that we start to make money? And Jennifer, if you knew, if I hit this number by this particular day, 15th of the month, I hit that, I've sold, $75,000 this month. And the rest of the month, everything that I sell is profit. Boom. That would be an encouraging thing to be able to know. It's like, hey, I'm making the business money.
Right. Yeah.
So money mastery, time mastery, right? How do we control our time? Do we know how we spend our time?
Sadly, time disappears quickly, and
Yes.
you assume you're being efficient, and I'm sure you're going to get to this, Michael, but on any given day, the piles that you start with end up being reshuffled.
Yeah.
People get, you get a distraction call or email, and then you go down a different rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you're at the end of the day and you didn't get as much done as you had hoped.
Yeah.
So you end up, in my world, I ended up spending time on non-income producing tasks to make a maybe marginal client go away, be happy, not, I don't need to change his address today. Why is he bothering me? He knows how to reach my admin.
Yeah.
But if I don't get back to him, he's going to think I don't care. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach, Michael.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
And I don't want to go off track here, but I mean, his brilliance was you have three kinds of days: a focus day, a buffer day, and a free day. And unfortunately, with technology and with COVID, free days just kind of blend into buffer days. There's just no way, and I know that's wrong, but for me to assume that Saturday and Sunday this weekend, my email won't have some sort of quote unquote time sensitive matter that I probably need to get back to the client to, those days are over.
Yeah.
So most days in my world become buffer days. A focus day might be 5 appointments with 5 B+, A- prospects, and I'm laser focused on them. I don't even have a chance to get to my email. That's a focus day.
Yeah.
Doing what you're paid to do.
Yeah. Yes. All the above. So here's 2 things that I'm going to give you today as your coach, right? The first is emails, text messages, all those sorts of things. Every time you get an alert, right? Turn the alerts off. That will save you so much time and productivity. And if you schedule in the time that you will respond to emails and text messages, even if you do it throughout the day, from 8 to 8:30 in the morning, I'm going to deal with email. From 1 to 2 in the afternoon, I'll deal with email, and 4:30 to 5:30. Those are the only times I'm going to deal with email or text messages. And turn it off the rest of the time so that you can actually focus. There are very, very few things that happen that is so urgent that it's got to happen within a 4-hour block a window, right? I mean, at least what I've seen. You know, if you know, and if it's that urgent, there are other ways to be able to get in touch with you, right? But every time a little alert pops up on my computer that says you have an email from so-and-so, right? And I'm focused on something, what studies have shown us is that it takes you 15 to 20 minutes to regain your focus on whatever you were working on.
Ah,
And when that happens 3 or 4 times a day or more, how much time are you losing in mental brain power in focusing on something? So tip number 1, coach issue number 1, or coach item number 1, control those things. Get them under control, however you do it. The second thing, especially if you have teams, you know, is if you want to get 30% more productivity out of your team tomorrow, the very simplest way to do it is at the end of day today, have them write down the 5 things that they need to get done tomorrow. Just notepad, you know, 5 things that I'm going to get done tomorrow, right? And leave it on their desk. So that when they come in tomorrow, it's like they know those 5 things that they need to get done tomorrow. Those are the most important things that they've got to get done tomorrow. Now, maybe they will get them all done and maybe they won't, but just by writing them down at the end of the day, it starts to focus their mind to those things that they need to do tomorrow, and they will be more apt to actually get them done, and they will become more productive, right? Let me give you an example of how this works. Last time you took a vacation, right? You're going to be gone for a week. You made a list of everything you needed to get done before you went on vacation, right? You know, nobody just walks out the door and says, oh, okay, guys, you pick it all up, right? You make a list. I got to make sure this is done. I got to make sure this is done. I got to make sure this is done, right? You actually make a list, and you actually become more productive just in that, because you're making sure that those things are covered off, right? So if we get in the habit of every day saying, these are the 5 things I need to get done tomorrow, you know, you'll get the most important things done. Plus, you'll get a lot of other stuff done as well. So those are two things with time mastery. Michael, you kind of said it. You know, the thing with time is the one thing that you can never get back. You know, we all only have 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. You know, nobody can add any more to their day than any of that, all right? What we have to be able to do is learn to manage our priorities so that we're making the most of our time. So time mastery for ourselves and for our teams. Very important. And finally, delivery mastery. Delivery is, are the goods or the services that you are selling going to the customers the way that they would expect them to be delivered to them? Are you providing them the service level, right? You know, if I'm selling a used car, right, and as soon as it drives off the lot, the engine falls out of it, you know, is that person going to come back and buy from me again? Person's probably going to go to a lawyer, right? But if I'm selling, you know, a used car that, you know, somebody knows, okay, it's got a lot of miles on it, but it's going to go and it's going to drive and it's going to be, you know, a good used car. And that person, you know, maybe they didn't have as much money to buy a really good car, but you put them in a good car and they feel very confident about it. Are they going to come back? Are they, you know, they're going to be a repeat customer, right? So it's those things where, you know, have the delivery. Make sure that you're providing to your customers the goods and services that they are expecting? You know, are they getting what they want? So these are the areas of mastery that, as coaching businesses, we, you know, together, they get these things down tight so that they eliminate that chaos and their business begins to run well. We then move into niche, right? So niche is that area where it becomes profitable. This is the cash flow, right? And really, the definition of niche is that there's no price competition. What happens if you're competing on price? Jennifer, if your facility and the one down the street, you know, if you say, okay, to come into my facility, it's going to be $5,000 a month, and the one down the street says it's going to be $4,500 a month, can you compete with that?
Well, no, you lose if that's their only focus or that's their bottom line.
Yeah. So if we don't compete on price, where can you get those customers that somebody else is undercutting you on price? What do you do? On product.
Product. Quality.
Quality. Yeah. Yeah. We cannot be competing on price. There will always be somebody who is going to undercut you on price, right? Plus, we don't want to be the lowest price out there, probably. Because when you're the lowest price out there, what are you going to get? You know, you're going to get the budget buyers who are never happy customers anyway, right? They're like, you know, I mean, you've heard them before, right? You know who I'm talking about. You know, if you grade customers, Mike, you kind of referred to it. You know, you have your A's, B's, but you also have the C's and D's. And the D customers are those who are only buying on price. And you want to get rid of them anyway, because they're just like sucking the life out of you. So niche is to get you to a point where you're not competing on price. So what we do is you create your USP, your unique selling proposition. What makes you stand out from everybody else? You know, what makes you different? How are you, you know, presenting yourself? What value do you have that nobody else in the market has? Right? You know, I mean, it's there are so many ways that we can look at this, especially when, you know, you have how many you know, memory care facilities and things like that. They're growing. It's a growing business, and so you need to have a way that you stand out differently, right? So it could be, you know what, we have this particular thing that nobody else in the area has. You know, we have this facility, or we have this person who is able to help your loved ones, or, you know, we have, you know, today with COVID, you know, maybe you know, I don't know your facility that well. I've been associated with some in the past, and I know what's going on with COVID. So you may say, you know what, we're the only facility in the area that has a place where you can come in with your loved one and be able to interact with them, you know, with COVID. You don't have to be outside. You can come in, or, you know, and set up that place. You know, we have the things in place in order to address these current issues. You know, we have the cleanest, you know, we are guaranteeing the cleanliness. We are putting all these things into place. You know, what makes you unique these days, right? Or insurance. Insurance is, you know, my gosh, you know, I mean, Michael, no offense, but, you know, I talked to one insurance agent, I talked to another insurance agent, and I'm like, okay, it goes over my head. But there are those things that make you unique, right? In selling insurance, that, you know, if you buy from us and you buy this, you know, this 401k, or this is how it's different than anybody else. You're going to get this kind of service from us. You're going to get this level of value from us that you won't get anyplace else, right? You know, my coaching, one of the things that makes us unique is that we have a guarantee as well. We have a 7-point guarantee for my coaching. And people often like, how expensive is your coaching? Well, my coaching technically is free because my guarantee says that if you come on with us within 17 weeks, you will have your investment back, right? So it's not going to cost you a thing. I'm going to get you that, or I'm going to coach you for free. So either way, you're going to get that. It's a guarantee that's there. And we have to have these things that bring us to a point of creating our unique selling position and our guarantee. So here, how we do that is we test and measure. So when you talk about, Jennifer, you're wanting to know how you get unique marketing ideas. We've got to test and measure them. You have to be able to say, okay, I tried this and I got this result. I did something with this webinar today was I put it out on Facebook, right? And I advertised a little bit on Facebook just to see what the result would be, to test and to measure it. If I spend this much money on Facebook, what kind of response do I get? We test and measure, and you do a variety of things. I heard a story about one client. They had been advertising in a monthly magazine, spending $15,000 a month in this article every month, right? Yeah, it's a big company, but their results, the feedback was going down, and so they decided to do something else. So they started doing some Google marketing, and testing these days is real easy because Google Analytics and Facebook Analytics and all those things, they're built in. They're doing a lot of that for us. So they went to the Google Analytics and they tested 12 different headlines to change up the headline as well as the headline they had. And they found that the headline they were using, it was still okay with the market, but there was one that was 15 times better response than what they had been using. And they changed it. They were like, okay, we're going to change this up right away. Now, they didn't go and do that right away in the 15,000. They did like a small test of it and tested to see what it would be in the market. And then they sunk their money, the $15,000 a month, in changing it. But you test and measure everything. That brings us to how we really get that predictable cash flow. And we do it with 5 ways of growing a business. And I'm going to go over this somewhat quickly today. I'm actually doing a workshop next week that's going to get into these a lot more in detail. But most business owners, when I talk to them, they know how many customers they have, they know what their revenue is, and they know how much profit they make, right? Those are the big things. But they are all just results of other things. And this is where it actually can get exciting. It does get exciting for businesses. So we talk about 5 ways in which we can get massive profits for businesses. We talk about the number of leads that we generate. And with Action Coach, we have 87 different ways to create leads. Most businesses, how many ways are you right now working to build your leads? How many strategies are you using? Michael, you know how many strategies you're using to develop leads?
I'm probably in 3 different networking organizations. I've got a specific board of advisors that meets once a month. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and getting, opportunities through mutual connections. Existing clients should be the best, but because of COVID and the lack of face-to-face, it's probably more coming from, the virtual ways. I mean, some of the calls you and I were on the last 2 days, I've already got appointments with people who were on those Zoom meetings that I didn't know before Tuesday. So I call that personal observation, just kind of paying attention.
Yeah. And Jennifer, how many marketing strategies are you guys using right
Definitely not 87. I'd love to know all those 87.
now?
I would say maybe between probably around 20.
Yeah?
You know, if you're counting all the networking groups and where we put our advertising in and LinkedIn and, you know, social media and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of those strategies that you're using, they're probably some of the strategies, but you're using them in different ways.
Right.
So like referrals is a strategy, right? And referrals is, so you'll get referrals through BNI and through chamber and through, different things. So you have one particular strategy that you're implementing in multiple ways.
Okay.
You have social media and you're doing it in multiple ways, right? And that's one of the ways that we build leads is we look at these strategies and we don't just say, okay, we're going to do one way. We actually say, let's look at 10 of these strategies and let's look at 10 different ways that we're going to do those strategies, right? But most businesses are not doing a lot of strategies. They're maybe doing, 3, 4, 5 different strategies, especially small businesses that people aren't focused on. The number of leads, conversion rate, how many of those people who are leads actually become your clients? Do you know what that is? Do you know, are you testing and measuring that, right? When you multiply those together, that gets your customers. And then the number of transactions. How many times is that person buying from you over the year? Sometimes, it's a recurring thing. Other times, there's multiple times. Some customers, they buy once and they leave. And what's the average dollar sale? How much are you actually selling to them? When you take your customers times transactions times the average sale, that comes up with revenue. And then what's your profit margin, right? Take it times the revenue and that gives you your profit. So if we plug in numbers here, just for fun, let's say we had 4,000 leads, right? People who are interacting with you on a monthly basis. And your conversion rate is 4,000, of that 4,000, 25% of them actually buy something. So that gives you 1,000 customers, right? Simple math. If they buy from you twice a year, some maybe more, some maybe less, maybe once, but on average twice a year, and the average sale, just for simplicity of math, is $100. That gives you a revenue of 200 grand a year, right? And your profit margin, again, for simplicity, is 25%. So that gives you an actual profit of $50,000, right? Follow me so far?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if working with the coach, you as a business were able to increase your leads by 10%. Okay. Saying, okay, not 10 times what it is, but just 10%. Not massive growth. We're talking about small changes. So looking at a new strategy of, maybe, improving SEO or even just starting to measure these things. You start to realize, oh, okay, I could be doing this or I could be doing that. And you can increase your leads by 10% over the year, right? And we increase the conversion rate. Again, a lot of times it's simply by testing and measuring what it is, we actually can improve it. And then putting some sales scripts together. One of the things I found is, some people are really good at sales and others are not in an organization. And if you start to study, okay, what's that person who is knocking it out of the park with selling? What are they doing different than I am? And you learn from them, your conversion rate can go up. So if we increase the conversion rate just by 10%, right? All of a sudden, our customers go from 1,000 to 1,210, right? It's 200 more customers. And if we are able to increase the number of transactions on an annual basis, just again, 10%. So they're buying more frequently. They're coming back. Or, and we can up the price by 10%, which, do you know the easiest way to increase the average sale? You want to guess? I'll give it to you.
No idea.
Show a bigger solution. If you show a bigger solution, people actually say yes every once in a while.
Yeah, that works, but also increasing prices. I actually was talking with somebody this week who does rental properties, and I know this particular rental market fairly well. And I was like, what are you charging, average rent for these homes? And they told me. I was like, you are almost 100% under what the current rate is. You could double your rent nearly, because, well, he's like, yeah, I just haven't upped my rent in 5 years. So he's so underpriced. It's amazing. Business owners are the most afraid of raising prices. But when you actually raise the price, most customers, those who complain about price are going to continue to complain about price. Others are like, okay, I get it. And you're not talking about a huge increase in price, but there's ways to increase your average dollar sale. Again, taking that down just 10% all the way through. Now our revenue, it's not 200,000 a year. By just increasing these by 10%, we have a 41% increase in our revenue, which makes for a pretty good profit there in itself, right? But if we increase our profit margin by 10% as well, right? That's actually going to give us a 61% increase in profit.
Wow.
So there are ways that we can do this to really make businesses profitable, right? And we have the strategies in place to do it. And, Jennifer, you mentioned, I want to know those strategies. It's actually, I don't have it right here. But there's a book. I've got a book that's instant sales, instant leads. Those books are very easy to get. So real quickly, I only have a couple minutes left. Leverage. This is building systems, making sure that everything is running efficiently. This is when the business actually works. And the interesting thing about leverage is the same chassis that's in the Volkswagen Golf is also in an RA. It's learning to do the same thing over and over again. Doing it once so that it's done multiple times, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. It's really putting some systems in place. And a system we use it as an acronym for save yourself time, energy, and money, right? That's what it's really about. So another book that I have, if you need to know about, how do I get more out of your business with less time, which is what we're about. I have one right here. I keep these books around, but it goes through really 9 steps of how to manage a business. And it's got all the strategies in it. This isn't just like, something that's, theoretical. These are pragmatic, putting together a culture statement. How do you do that? Put together the vision statement. How do you make sure that you have a good vision statement? How do you have a good mission statement? How do you develop those SMART goals in your org chart? Positional charts, positional contracts. Does everybody know what they're supposed to be doing? So having all of those systems in place. Finally, the team, that's when it starts to work without you. And this actually, Mike, something you said before made me think about this. And I wanted to jump here. You were talking about, that client that, oh, do I really have to deal with their address today, right? When we have a good team in place, when we have a good business in place that's working without us, the idea is the owner is there to build up the team, to make sure that the team has everything that they need. And they're educated, they're trained, they have all the resources in order to actually serve the customers, right? But so many times, we as owners, we run around and we think we got to take care of the team. We got to take care of customers. We got to take care of the business. We got to do it all as the owners. Everything falls into your lap. But if we're building up the team and the team then is taking care of the customers, then the customer is going to be buying and taking care of the business, and the business will take care of the owner, right? That's where leadership comes into place, is focusing on the team, making sure the team is there. And there are times that, that customer, it's like, hey, it's good to talk with you, John. I know you need to get your address updated. Have you made sure that you talked to Sally about that, right? I'll forward you over to her, and she'll take care of it, right? And get it off your plate. And drive it back to the team, because the team, they know what they're supposed to be doing as well, because you've trained them. And eventually we train the customers as well, right? It's all part of an educational process. So that's when the team is really there. It's working without you. And finally, that's, the synergy is where you have the growth and the freedom, and you're retiring at age 62, right? You're selling it out, taking the golden umbrella, and sitting on the beach or sailing away on the yacht. Whatever it is your dreams are, you have the freedom, the financial freedom, the time freedom to enjoy all that. So just in closing, Richard Branson said, if you learn to run one business, there's no reason why you can't run any number of businesses at the same time. From what I've heard, he's running about 400 businesses simultaneously, and he does it in about one morning while laying in a hammock down on Necker Island or wherever he hangs out, right? They're running on their own. They're operational. He doesn't have to get involved in it. Jim Rohn, who was an inspirational speaker many years ago, and this is one that, it hits me every time I think about it. Never wish your life were easier, wish you were better, right? There are so many times I think, oh my gosh, I wish this were just easier. This is so hard. It's so hard. Being in business is hard work. Well, don't wish your life were easier. Wish you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And that's where we'll get fulfilled, right? And Brad Sugar's, the other thing, where you'll be in 5 years depends on the books you read, and the people you associate, and the actions you take, right? You've heard it before. Read a book a week. If you want to get better, you want to be successful, read a book a week. And if you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, if you don't have a plan, you're probably going to be the same place you are right now. So you have to take action. We all have coaches, right? Even Tiger. So that's what I have today. I wanted to educate you. Did you get something out of this? Was this valuable? All right.
Yes.
I wanted to be your coach. Did you feel like I was your coach a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I wanted to give you something that you could put in place, some strategies for tomorrow. Do you have something?
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking to make sure I did check. I'm grading myself here. And have you given some thought to, okay, maybe there's something that I need to do about being coached? Whether it's me or somebody else. Do you need to have somebody who's coaching you to helping you to be better?
Probably.
Yeah. Keep thinking on it. Michael?
You did great. Yes, I don't know if I'm coachable. That's the biggest problem. When you become an old dog, and I've been coached by many, 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 many people, and I certainly am appreciative of your effort today. I think it's good stuff. It's almost like if I can bring this to my team, sort of like your whole pyramid thing, then the team would make me move up the line, and I could do less and get paid more, which is obviously the goal. The 80-hour work week that you're exhausted making less than a 40-hour work week when you get a salary. I've been doing this 37 years. I have never had a salary, so I have nothing to compare it to. But you know, I would say, without boring you, saving 250 hours in the last 4.5 months, not commuting on 400 is a win.
Oh yeah.
Having less stress in my life because I'm not commuting is a win. But
Yeah.
it is getting a little tiring just with these kinds of meetings and very few face-to-face meetings that just, you know, you get tired. It's Thursday. I've probably had 20 calls or Zooms, and I'm just like, there's going to be a diagnosis. It won't be carpal tunnel because that's already been taken, but you know, it's not healthy. This is not how humans were built, you know, to just kind of be talking at screens all day or into a phone all day. And they're like, but that's what we're going to have to work on. I certainly want to have a follow-up call with you, Michael. I won't take any more of your time today, and I'm glad I jumped on.
You bet. I'm glad you're here. You know, and that very thing as far as the interaction, and I've been thinking a lot about that today myself, and how, you know, I think people kind of bought into, okay, I can maybe deal with this isolation for, you know, 2 or 3 months, but we're into 6 months now, right? And I think people really are exhausted. I think there's some mental stress that's going on with folks where, you know, like you said, this isn't the way humans are supposed to be. We are communal animals, you know, and we've got to figure something out.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's face to face, not just through some technology. And it's great that we can, on the other hand, business has like expanded because we're not, you know, having to spend 200 hours, you know, on 400, you know, and you can, you know, if you're not geographically, you know, limited anymore, you can sell anywhere.
That's the efficiency.
Yeah.
Yes. You could be a heck of a lot more efficient if you're not losing 2.5 hours a day screaming in traffic and not getting work done and texting and driving and all that. But
well, and the other thing for people who are looking to get into small businesses now, there has never been a better time. Even with the way the economy is, your startup costs now, you know, you don't need a brick and mortar anymore to start a business. You know, that's almost passé, and you don't need, you know, thousands of dollars in marketing startup costs, because you can do Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other things that are pretty cheap to market your business. You know, and Jennifer, I know you wanted to get like probably some real tangible things to think about with marketing, and so let's talk, you know, after this about some real specific ways to look at your business, and let's set up an hour where I can, you know, do a free coaching hour with you, and really talk about, you know, what are some ways that you can get real specific to address some of those pain points.
Okay, that would be wonderful. I'd appreciate it. But I did get some, you know, some good pointers from here and making lists and, you know, things like that. So I thank you very much for it.
You bet. You bet.
All right, Michael, I got to jump. Great to see you. Maybe I'll see you at columns tomorrow. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. We'll see you soon.
Nice to meet
Chamber
you.
or
Bye-bye.
hey, Jennifer, do you want to come to the BNI as well? Do you want to visit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I have your email address. I'll get you in. We don't have anybody who's in the. We have somebody who is in a seat that he helps place people in facilities, assisted living facilities.
Okay.
But we don't have anybody who is in our BNI right now who actually represents a facility. So that's an open seat for us right now.
All right. That
So
would be great. Thanks.
be more than happy to. It's a great chapter. We have about 38 very active members in our chapter. So it's one of the biggest here in north of Atlanta.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you. And thank you again for the presentation.
You bet. You bet. We'll be
Okay.
talking soon.
Okay.
I'll send you a follow-up email.
Okay, perfect. Thanks,
All right.
Michael.
You bet. Take care.
Bye-bye. You too.
Bye-bye.